Now to a story from CBS Village highlighting diverse stories. And while we often hear the history-making Tuskegee Airmen story, it's only recently that the 6 have gotten their due.
They were the first predominantly all-black female battalion deployed overseas during World War II. And this morning, Mamie Ba from CBS News Pittsburgh shares the story of a woman who was part of this groundbreaking group.
The bombing of Pearl Harbor. It awakened the call to serve among all Americans and change those who would respond to that need, women of color.
She did the job, and she's happy that she did it.
In 1943, Officer Julia McNeil from Jeannette enlisted in the Women's Army Corps. It was the only unit that included women of color stationed in Europe during World War II. I sat down with her daughter, Denise Ruffin, and her granddaughter, Michelle Jackson.
She said, just a simple of, I helped get the mail through. That was it.
But it was more than just that. It was information, the only form of communication between our troops and their families back home. Army officials believed that lack of connection was hurting morale. The war was taking a toll on everyone. So a special unit was formed, the 6888 Central Postal Directory Battalion, known as the 6 McNeil didn't tell the family about her historic service until she was in her 80s.
She specifically said, I was a part of this first ever all-black women's regiment in the military.
Just very casual.
Mm-hmm. Yes, very casual.
Very casual.
Yeah. 80 years later, by the way, I did this one thing.
Yeah, that's true. That's what's my mom.
Wow.
About 20 years ago, Pastor Anthony Murray honored veterans at the family's church, Hopewell Baptist Church.
She was even humbled at saying, Pastor, no, you don't have to do that. You know, I said, what? I said, you have done a historical thing here.
McNeil was 22 years old when she joined 854 other female soldiers. The problem before them was mounting, several years of backlogged mail. According to our research, more than a dozen of the enlisted women were from Western Pennsylvania. They were stationed overseas and worked in horrible conditions.
The focus was more about just doing the job of getting the mail out. That was her focus. She didn't talk about conditions. For her, that was not important. It was about the duty of the job.
They reportedly got out 17 million pieces of mail in 90 days. It's a major part of history that went unrecognized until a recent Netflix movie.
They did not send us because they thought we could do it. We are here because they are sure we cannot.
It stars Kerry Washington and was written, directed, and produced by Tyler Perry. This is what he said on CBS Mornings to Gayle King.
At that time, when a lot of the women came back from war, there was still this taboo about being female soldiers. So a lot of them a lot of family members didn't even know that their grandparents or moms or had served in the 6
The unit was disbanded in 1946. McNeil happily returned to Jeannette a year prior. She married Officer John Crowell. He served as a cook during the war. He was from Jeannette as well. The family doesn't know how they met. Together, the couple's service continued in other ways. McNeil started a career in healthcare. She became heavily involved in the Salvation Army and held various roles at the church. Her accomplishments went unspoken, despite the various medals and a letter from President Truman thanking her for her service.
It's like, wow, that was my grandmother.
The Women's Army Corps veteran died in 2008. She was buried beside her husband at Jeannette Memorial Cemetery.
When you have generational legacy and you get to pass something down, it's like, it's a complete honor, and keep passing it down.
This could have been like this forever, but I'm glad that it's out now, and it's too bad my mom's not here to see it.
And Mamie Ba joins us now. Mamie, thank you very much for joining us. Really appreciate it. Julia McNeil, she never really stopped serving. In her later years, she volunteered with the Salvation Army. Why was service so important to her throughout her life?
I think it really defined who she was as a person. She felt it was her purpose, and she went on to pass that down to her grandchildren and continued to held various roles in the church. She even helped in women's shelters. Her daughter was even part of the Salvation Army. She helped when her grandchildren joined the Girl Scouts and the Boy Scouts. So she really felt this was really important, especially during a time, she grew up during a time when she was made to feel like she didn't have a voice. People of color largely didn't have a voice. And so you really spoke through your actions, and your actions really held weight. And it was your actions that spoke to the kind of person you was and your character.
What did the McNeil family want people to know about the 688?
They want people to know their story, all of the women and all of the things they've done. They want people to understand their historic contributions to history. They don't want it to get lost because that's really what's happened here. And so they also want, one of the biggest messages also, they want Black women to be vocal about the things they've done, their achievements and their accomplishments, because too often they're taught to be humbled.
Mamie Ba, it's a great piece. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.